Hola!
I'm Johanna.
And I'm Denise.
Welcome and bienvenidos to the Love and Evolve podcast, where we discuss topics surrounding holistic wellness, such as mental, physical, and spiritual health. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer.
Love and Evolve Wellness Podcast is a community space for conversation, growth, and healing. However, it is not a substitute for professional mental or medical care. El podcast no sustituye ayuda psicológica o médica.
We encourage you to seek resources and support in your community. We love you, los queremos mucho, and you matter to us.
Thank you for listening, and on to the show.
Today, we thought we might start with a question.
Yes, indeed. And that question is, what do most successful people have in common? And give you a second to think about that because I have an answer. And the answer is, drum roll please, morning routines.
Yes, morning routines.
So I was wondering why successful people are so successful because of their morning routines. So I did a little bit of digging and I came across this article on theladders.com. And it says that people have 2 to 2.5 hours of peak productivity per day, and that being mostly in the morning. That upon waking, you've got your time that you wake up, about an hour or so. So for example, you get up at 7 and then by 8, you're ready to go. And between 8 to 10, you are your most productive. Knowing that, it would seem that if you take advantage of that time, then you are able to get more things done, therefore be more successful throughout the day, which would then trickle out through your week, your month, and your year. And before you know it, you're a successful person. So let's break that down a bit and really look into, or just talk about a little bit more of what goes into making a successful morning routine.
Lo haces escuchar tan fácil, Denise. Sounds like a cakewalk. The reality, though, is that routines can sometimes feel overwhelming, and they might even feel like too much. And how am I even going to make time for that in my day? Or I have too many things going on right now, or the million of excuses that come through. And I think what's important to focus on is the feelings, right? So I've narrowed it down to, at least for me personally, how do I determine if my routine was successful? And that helps me not feel as overwhelmed. And so the first question I ask at the end of the day or at the end of the routine is, did I accomplish my intention? Did I feel the way I wanted to feel at the end of the day? And if not, then I go to my next question is, what did I gain from this experience? What new information do I have that can help me improve my routine so that I can then meet that intention that I wanted to meet? And then the third part of that is to celebrate those victories with gratitude. You put yourself out there and you try a routine and it doesn't work out, it totally flops. And it's important to recognize that you made the effort. Sometimes we beat ourselves up because, it didn't look exactly that way, or I just didn't wake up on time, or whatever the reason is. And then we get stuck in this cycle of like, well, if that didn't work, then I'm just not even going to try. And then now you have all these negative thoughts flowing in your heads. And so it's really important to identify those small victories when you feel like the routine wasn't successful, because you might feel that way, but there is something, and I guarantee you there is something in that process that is going to give us information about how to do it better the next time.
Yeah, I like how grounded your tuning in process is. So to really then reflect at the end of the day, because I do think that there is a missing piece there, that as soon as the train starts going for the day, And, we're on it. Day's going, things are happening, and some things may not go as planned, or usually that's real life, right? Things don't go as planned. And like you mentioned, we do get into this, oh my God, this didn't go well, or, this I suck spiral of I didn't do this, therefore I must be this.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a missed opportunity to then say, okay, that was crap, but then what can I learn? Or what things did I actually get done that I can feel good about, because they may seem small, but they're huge victories. Whether it's I got to work on time, I fed myself and I ate nutritious foods. That's a win. I got out of bed, I brushed my teeth, I had water to drink. So all of those
Yes.
things, once you start collecting them, it's a huge list, and then it turns into gratitudes as well. So I wish I had that a long time ago. I think it would have made it so much easier as I went through the YouTube spiral of, or the rabbit hole of, oh, let me look at this morning routine. And it's influencer after influencer who's got like their loft apartment, and, they worked hard to get there, but we're seeing the product after so much work, right? And now they've got the space and the time and a totally different life. We can't measure ourselves against what someone else has or doesn't has.
No, I think it's so beautiful what you pointed out there is the idea of really celebrating those victories. And yeah, you're spot on there.
And then also being flexible, right? Because I know you talked a little bit about that, because you're a mom,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just about you, right? You've got your
Mm-hmm.
kiddo and his life and his needs to make him
Mm-hmm.
happy and whole, right? So what are the
Yeah.
things that he needs? And then you're also a
Yeah.
wife. I don't have kids, but I'm a wife, so it's like there's a lot of things that we're negotiating. So yes, the
Mm-hmm.
morning is a very productive time for a lot of our brains, because we've just turned on, so to speak. But it can also be the most hectic time of the day for a lot of us. I gotta get to work, I gotta get to school, I gotta prep this. And if we're like working from home, how do I create my
Yeah.
space? I forgot to eat. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
And then sometimes don't think those don't happen. And so then
Right.
how can we be kind to ourselves, but then also make room to improve?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and one of the things that I've like I want to share with all of you is this process I've created. I like processes for life things because they simplify my life. I'm really scattered and easily distracted. So having these lists or these processes help me to stay focused. Um, and so I would say that what has worked is to really focus on our why. Like, why does this matter? Okay, so why I want to ask you, listeners, is why does it matter to have a routine? What might it be for you? So is it, I want to be healthy, I want to heal a certain illness, I want to spend more time with my kids, I want to give myself time so that I can feel um, more grounded. Whatever that is for you, it's important to really be concrete, like super explicit about why does this matter. Because if we try and go through the rabbit hole, Denise, that you mentioned, because I've gone through that route where it's like, okay, routines work, so let me see what other people are doing. And then you start looking this up, and then you start just getting overwhelmed with, well, everybody's doing it this way, why isn't it working for me? And the reality is that it's going to be different for every single person, because
Mm-hmm.
each individual has their own circumstances. And I think once we accept that whatever routine we create for ourselves is enough, then we're able to go through with our routine and be okay with having to modify it, and being okay with not being 100% followed every time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I really want to revisit that whole feeling thing, because I know that can be very tricky, especially for, I think most of us are perfectionists. I know I am. I love lists too. Every little box I check, it's like, yes, that's a win, right? But that can also be extremely overwhelming when you've made this list of like 5, 10, 20, like it just grows and grows and grows. And then at the end of the day, you see, oh, I only checked off 2, then, feeling like, oh my gosh, I didn't get to any of this. It's great to have a list of things to stay on track, definitely, to see what your goals are and if they're being met. But then bringing it back to a feeling of really that's the overarching theme for your day. What do I want to accomplish feeling wise?
Mhm.
And then instead of, oh, but I didn't cross these things off, if we can reverse that
Mhm.
and then write out, what did I do? So Joe has this really cool acronym.
Oh
Would
God.
this be an okay time for you to talk about this or no? Because we can totally go into
Oh
something
yeah.
else.
No, I
Because I
totally
think this is
can.
really cool to share.
Um, yeah, I'm a little embarrassed, but it's okay. I do this for a lot of things because again, it keeps me focused. Um, but so kind of just before we jump into the acronym, I did want to just wrap up a little bit about what we talked about, which was the importance of setting your intention, your purpose, like why, and being very specific about that because that will remind you why you're doing it and keep you committed and following through with your routine. And then the second part is what you touched on, Denise, which is the feeling, right? Like what what do you want to feel at the end of the day and what feeling is going to make you feel successful? So rather than focusing on like as if I touch 5 out of 10 on this task list, I'll feel good. Focus more on if I feel this way at the end of the day, then I know that I've succeeded today. And then the other part I wanted to talk a little bit about was the importance of planning.
Mm-hmm.
So we can have all these routines and everything, fine, great. But if we don't have a plan for what happens if it doesn't work out that way. So like I'll share a little bit about my experience. So my little one is 4 years old and he has a schedule where some days he wakes up at 6 a.m., some days he wakes up at 7 a.m. It's not always consistent. And if growth spurts happen, things are going to change. So his times aren't always consistent. Um, and so when I began trying to start a routine, this would really upset me. And I mean, I wouldn't go off on him or anything, but I would just be irritable. I like for the rest of the day, I'd be like, oh, I didn't get that done there. Like, I was really moody, to be honest. Um, and what I realized, it wasn't really helping anyone. And I had to really reflect on, well, what can I do? This isn't working, but that shouldn't be a reason why I just give up on my entire dream or goal. This is useful information. How do I use this? And so at that point, that's where I was like, okay, well, I could have toys out for him. I could, have breakfast ready for him or have books or things that he can entertain himself with. So that's the first kind of backup plan. And then if that doesn't work, nudge the hubby and be like, hey, I really want to do this. I really need your support in this area. And, if that's someone that you have that you can ask for support, then go for it. Or whatever your supportive community is to help you meet your goals. And it's really about teamwork and having that backup. And then the other one is just using your tools and your resources. So like, um, you know, setting several alarms, your calendar, having an accountability buddy, those kinds of things. And I think if we put all of the responsibility on just us doing it because we can, then we're not really being realistic. We have to really look at the bigger picture and how we can support ourselves in the event that things don't work out the way we plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
because things come up. We've got to be flexible and adapt and go with it, right?
yes, yeah, yeah. I was having a really hard time with that in the beginning, but I think once I realized, like, I don't know why I wanted it to be perfect. I don't. I still have some work to do there in that area, but having to want things a certain way and then having it not go that way and how difficult it is to transition. But I'm getting there. And the other part was to be able to visualize it. This often gets overlooked. Like, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, I have my plan. I know why it's important to me. Let's go. But then we don't really think about well, not think here, I'm doing it again. we don't take a moment to just either close our eyes or draw it out, or just get to a space where you're like, this is how I'm going to feel when this happens. I am going to feel this way. And just almost like channeling how you will feel so that it then is your experience. Like it's.
Yeah, manifest it. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. The words right out of my mouth. Manifest that. And it really does begin to bloom for you. If all we do is just go through the motions, then we won't have the passion to keep us moving. We'll lose interest. And that's not to say that once you figure that out, it's going to go well. Mm-hmm. That's not it either. But you'll begin to work that muscle for yourself so that you can continue to get better and better and better.
And I'd love to then possibly give another spin on that, because I know this all may sound to some people like, oh, okay, that's all great and good to be in your feelings and go with the flow. But Joe and Denise, you know what? I've got this, and this, and this to deal with. So maybe walking through an example, because I'm trying to put myself in your shoes, right? Because I know there are barriers such as time, access to things, whether that be food, a gym, because maybe health is one of your things, but you're like, I don't have a gym, or it's snowing where I live and I can't realistically go out and walk. I can't get a treadmill. So there's financial barriers, or multitasking. There's so many different things pulling at you, whether it's someone you're taking care of, a grandparent, a child. I mean, it could go on and on and on to even things like, I just don't feel motivated to get out of bed. So kind of going back to this whole feeling of being woo-woo, because we're woo-woo, aren't we, Joe?
I think so.
So if your feeling is, let's go with, I just don't feel motivated. Yes, I'd love to get up early in the morning. I just don't feel motivated. The alarm goes off and I just hit the snooze button. All right. So why do you want to get out of bed in the morning? Is it because you want to meditate in the morning? Is it because you want to do 10 minutes of a workout? And that's in your ideal world. Then let's look at what is keeping you from getting out of bed. So if it's the alarm, let's try putting it in another room, right? So now you've got to get out of bed. If it's, okay, I got out of bed, but I don't have time for 10 minutes. Well, if the goal was to move because you want to feel like you've given back to your body and to yourself, then maybe it's just 10 push-ups, whether they're on your knees, it's a modified push-up or a full-on push-up, and then give yourself that feeling. So essentially what I'm getting at is what's the smallest yet biggest impact. I think we've talked about this a while ago, Joe, when we were talking about morning routines, is what's the smallest that you can give to yourself? And by small, I don't mean it's like, it doesn't mean anything, but the smallest package of something, if you will, that you can give yourself that's going to make the biggest impact. So for example, for me, reading is so important. So sometimes I can't get out of bed because I'm tired from the day before, or I didn't prep, or whatever it is. But even if it's just 5 minutes of reading a book at some point in my morning, that makes me feel like, okay, I did something for me. Whether or not I hit any of the to-dos on my routine, that I know that reading is going to give me that feeling of fulfillment and self-care, right? So I may not get to sit down for 30 minutes like I would have wanted to with a cup of coffee, but at least I got to read through a couple pages, and I'm going to relish in every single minute of those. So believe me, we know all of our lives are complicated, but you know you and what you want to get out of it. So yeah, going back to that vision, right? What do you want for yourself? And then working your way backwards. What's holding you back from fulfilling that vision? And then knocking down those barriers in whatever way you can, reaching out to your support team, spouse, family members, friends. I mean, that could probably be a whole other thing of how do we tackle that, but that's just for starters. So we've talked about a lot.
Yeah. And so we'll leave you guys with this. I'll share the acronym. And we can definitely put it on the notes. If this is useful
Yes.
for you, please take it, use it, share it. If not, don't use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, take it or leave it. It's all good.
Solely what has worked for me and what it comes here. I'll tell you the acronym. I'm talking too
Okay.
much now. So it's M.A.E.M. And the M stands for mindfulness. And what I mean by mindfulness is being aware of your current circumstances and what's available to you and being compassionate with your current state, right? So I don't mean making excuses. I'm calling you out on that. It's not about making excuses. It's about, okay, well, if I don't have access to a gym right now, then maybe that means that I just get up in the morning and I get into a rhythm of waking up at the same time every morning. And that's it. That's it. And then being like celebrating yourself when that does happen. And if it doesn't, that you made the effort. I mean, there's always something to be proud that you have done. And the A stands for adaptability. So when things don't go well, or if it didn't work out the way that you intended it to, how are you going to modify, or not modify, but like, how are you going to roll with what's happening so that it doesn't impact your day negatively? Like, be compassionate with yourself, with what's going on. And then the third one is E, and that would be to evaluate. So you did your routine and it went great. Is there anything that would make it better? You did your routine and it didn't go well. What can you do differently next time? And then the last one is to modify it. So I follow those key components: mindfulness, adaptability, evaluate, modify. And I just repeat it as I do my routine. And if something didn't work, I just go back to it and I keep making changes as I need. But the important thing is to find something that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like that. So it's mindfulness, adaptability, evaluate, and modify. Yeah, I like that as a cycle. Yeah. Yeah. And speaking your needs as well. If you have a partner that you live with, hopefully you're in a space where you can exchange your thoughts and your feelings and expressing your needs. So if your need is, I really just want to have 5 minutes for myself, right? Where someone's not interrupting while I'm trying to go pee in the bathroom, just 5 minutes, and working towards just how do you make that happen? Or even if it's just 1 minute today, can we make that happen? I just want to listen to a minute of a song. Yeah. So, I wish you guys so much love, and I hope you really enjoyed this topic. This was a fun one to explore, and it definitely gave us a lot to think about. And I learned something.
Too.
Yeah, I learned about this acronym. I really like it. I kind of want to try it out.
But it helps. I'm like, what am I doing? This is cool. My mind is making adaptations and this is useful. Maybe it can help somebody. I don't know. Maybe it's you.
We are so capable. Yes.
Yes. Thank you everyone for listening. Wishing you love and grace in your journey to love and evolve. We love you.
We love you. Mwah. We thank you for sharing your time with us. Gracias por compartir su tiempo and for listening to the Love and Evolve podcast, where we share tools, resources, and education on topics that cover holistic wellness, encompassing mind, body, and spirit.
Find details on how to stay connected with us in the show notes. We'd love to hear from you. Les damos un fuerte y enorme abrazo. Mwah.
Mwah.